Strat food supplements for vitality and well-being.
Time check, courtesy Alive by Nature's Way, distributed by H&J Enterprises Limited.
Government retracts statement backing U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran amid escalating crisis. Unemployment rises by 12,000 since April election. MV Blue Wave Harmony starts commercial service after completing sea trials.
In sport, service teams remain in step with leaders in TNT Premier Football League.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Doris Polo and this is the Weekend News here on CNC3. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, questions over the government's handling of a fast-moving international crisis. Within hours of publicly backing the United States and Israeli strikes against Iran, the Foreign Affairs Ministry retracted its full support. As reports, still unconfirmed, circulate about the possible killing of Iran's supreme leader, and with oil markets bracing for impact, critics are asking whether the government moved too quickly. Jensen Levend reports.
The government is tonight retracting its full support of the U.S. and Israel's attack against Iran. In a statement posted on Facebook around 4 p.m. today, the government gave its support, claiming the attack was aimed at preventing an oppressive regime from acquiring nuclear weapon capabilities that would jeopardize international peace and security. The Foreign Affairs release said the government condemned the attacks of aggression that threatens the sovereignty, security, and stability of the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Qatar. It adds that it stands firm with the countries that were targeted by Iran after the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran. The U.S. attack is reported to have killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. In a WhatsApp response to CNC3 News, Foreign Affairs Minister Sean Sobers said the government is assessing the situation. In an earlier interview with CNC3 News, Sobers said no national was injured in the rising conflict.
So far, there are no reported fatalities or injuries by any of our nationals. All of them are adhering to the countries within which they live, the instructions that are being given, and they are essentially hunkered down, and they are quite well. We've had no negative reports from our nationals, and we're quite pleased about that.
Meanwhile, economist Dr. Vanas James says the fallout can have both a positive and negative impact on the country as it pertains to oil and gas and the derivatives.
That will be a cost-increasing primarily a cost-increasing effect, although there is a little bit of a silver lining in the sense that Heritage produces some barrels of oil which you will export quickly, so you'll get some gain from that. But the much larger factor would be that you import most of your oil products, and therefore that cost is going to go up.
Political analyst Derek Ramsumuj says it's too early to speak on the possible political fallout from the conflict and more so the impact on the country. Jensen Levend, CNC3 News.
Well, in response, former Foreign Affairs Minister Amory Brown says the ministry statement has taken TNT to a new level of shame. He says, quote, "Our foreign policy has been reduced to puerile subservience with hasty official public releases that are definitely not the product of intelligent minds," end quote. Earlier this week, the Prime Minister made it clear that her administration has no issue with the sustained presence of United States troops in this country. But the statement has sparked debate, especially against the backdrop of rising geopolitical tension. So tonight, we put the question to you. Do you support the continuous presence of U.S. troops in Trinidad and Tobago? Here's how you responded.
The People Say, brought to you by Excel Health TT, the official supplement of the CPL.
Business? No, I don't agree with it. Reason being, it have the place more unstable and more uncertain than it already was.
No, not really, because the President of the United States actively, continuously threatens our country by constantly invading those who are next to us, aka Venezuela.
No, I don't, because it don't make us feel safe. I'm not supporting them. The reason why I'm not supporting them is because we down here as a whole. Why go support them down here? The Caribbean is oneness. It don't make sense. We supporting them. I'm not supporting them. So to say we supporting them, I'm not supporting them.
No, I don't agree because it have plenty of Trinidadian officers in this country, and I find they should do the job. They don't need no outside help.
The People Say, brought to you by Excel Health TT, the official supplement of the CPL.
New data from the Central Statistical Office show unemployment rising by 12,000 people between April and September last year. The increase followed the termination of thousands of URP, CPEP, HDC and forestry workers after the United National Congress administration took office. Shaliza Hassan Ali has more in this report.
Between April and September of last year, the Central Statistical Office has reported an additional 12,000 persons became unemployed. The CSO presented the figures on its website under 3 categories of unemployment between the second and third quarters of 2025, which is when thousands of URP, CPEP, HDC and forestry workers were terminated from their jobs, many of whom can be considered unemployable. The mass firings happened at a time when the country's economy was still recovering from COVID and experiencing stagnation. In the second quarter, under the category Total Unemployed, CSO recorded 22,800 people. By the third quarter, the figure rose to 28,600, an additional 6,000 people without jobs. Under the subheading Persons Without Jobs and Seeking Work, 18,000 were registered in the second quarter, compared to the 22,100 in the third quarter, an increase of 4,100 jobless people. Statistics also showed there were 4,700 other unemployed people in the second quarter. The third quarter registered 6,600, which represented 1,900 more people facing the breadline. Commenting on the data, development economist Dr. Ralph Henry says finding employment is becoming extremely difficult, mainly because
we don't have sectors that are, booming. Otherwise, to mop up the people who have lost their jobs. But 25% of our workforce does not have completed secondary education.
Meanwhile, former minister in the Ministry of Finance, Brian Manning, says he was not surprised by the CSO figures given the mass firings last year.
It's almost as if the government has waged war on the poor. And this is all self-inflicted, and it's because of the government's policy and just their careless fumbling with this economy.
Contacted for comment, Finance Minister Devendranath Thakur says he could not comment as he has not reviewed the CSO data himself. Shaliza Hassan Ali, CNC3 News.
Thanks, Shaliza. Immigration officials have released 10 of 11 migrants detained on Friday. We'll have those details coming up next.
With the cold and flu lurking around every corner, keeping your immune system strong allows you to live the life that you want every day. Discover BioStrath Immune Health. BioStrath Immune Health is a unique plasmalized yeast product that enhances the absorption of essential micronutrients, ensuring that your body stays resilient. And now enriched with zinc, it is your go-to support for immunity. Staying vibrant and healthy just became a whole lot easier. BioStrath Immune Health. Get what you need naturally.
Visit Tire Clinic Marketing, New Truck and OTR Tire Service Center at number 30 and 32 Montrose Main Road, Chabonas. Call today at 665-8973 or 672-3419. Alignment services available. Tire Clinic Marketing, Truck and OTR Service Center. A tire for every need.
Folks, take a look at all these medical conditions. What does it have in common? This. ITIS. But what does ITIS really mean?
The suffix itis denotes inflammation of a specified organ or tissue.
ITIS really means inflammation. How do we combat chronic inflammation? Through lifestyle changes. Then, and only then, make sure you're getting enough omega-3 fatty acids.
Always consult a qualified medical professional before starting any supplements.
Welcome back. A weekly schedule for the MV Blue Wave Harmony cargo vessel has been released. The boat will set sail for Tobago at 2 p.m. daily from Monday to Friday with passengers and truckers aboard. Works and Infrastructure Minister Jerlene John confirms that night sea trials will end tomorrow as the vessel successfully serviced the Sea Bridge last week. Tobago's business community has repeatedly called for reliability on the Sea Bridge, warning that previous disruptions led to supply shortages on the island. Sea trials for the cargo ferry were originally expected to conclude today. Since its arrival, the Blue Wave has encountered a number of challenges, including damage to its hull while berthing in Tobago, as well as issues with its ramp. Tensions within sections of the Venezuelan migrant community have eased after authorities released most of the people detained during a joint immigration operation in Arima on Friday. 11 individuals were held during last evening's exercise conducted by the Special Immigration Unit alongside officers of the Eastern Division CID. Of those, 10 have since been released. The remaining detainee is being held at the Immigration Office on Henry Street, Port of Spain, pending further processing. Managing Director of the La Casita Hispanic and Cultural Center, Adriana Brown, says the operation sends a contradictory message at a time when migrants are being encouraged to regularize their status.
Basically, my plea is to know exactly what's going on now and get the answer. Because what I get from the immigration officer is this is a procedure. They are not legal in the country, and we know that. The Ministry of Homeland Security advised the community to come forward to register and be regularized, and the procedures now going to the second stage. Why this type of process, this type of exercise now in Arima at this hour?
She said the 2026 migrant registration framework recorded more than 27,000 online applications, including over 16,000 children. Shifting gears, Deputy Chief Executive Officer for International Sales at Angostura Holdings, Rahim Mohammed, has been placed on paid administrative leave pending the outcome of an investigation. Chairman Gary Hunt tells CNC3 News the matter is currently under investigation and the company is not in a position to comment further or disclose details. He also says the length of Mohammed's leave, which took effect on February 26th, will be determined by the investigation's outcome. Sources say the investigation is related to a material change disclosure issued pursuant to Section 64(1)(b) of the Securities Act and Rule 603 of the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange rules. Mohammed was recently credited with spearheading the launch of Straight Vibes Rum Collection in collaboration with Jamaican dancehall star Vibes Cartel. The House of Representatives has passed the Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2026, meaning this country now has to comply with its international obligations to the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF, to try to curb illicit financial activities. The 36 members present voted in favor of the bill. One of the biggest changes is to beneficial ownership transparency, which means companies and partnerships must keep proper records of who really owns or controls them and report it to the Registrar General. During the debate, Attorney General John Jeremy directed national attention to the large pools of wealth hidden within trust structures.
These are people who hold in the very, 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 very high millions of dollars. They don't hold them often in their hands. They're held in trust for them. And those are precisely the individuals that the anti-money laundering experts on the outside want to get under the gun.
Muslims at Jama Masjid in San Fernando gave thanks last evening for the peace and unity that Trinidad and Tobago enjoys for their community iftar, the breaking of the Ramadan fast. President Wahid Majid told guests they were more than visitors. Among those attending were Reverend Kurt Baker from the San Fernando Methodist Church, Pundit Justice Devendra Rampasad from the Krishna Mandir, and representatives from several other Christian denominations. Haji Imran Khan told guests the unity that citizens here enjoy should be emulated.
In Trinidad and Tobago, there are so many negatives, there are so many people trying to rip us apart. So at the San Fernando Jama Masjid, we thought that we would take this opportunity to bring our peoples together. We are very blessed indeed in Trinidad and Tobago to have persons from so many different faiths overlapping one another, and we know that right now we are observing the period of Lent, which is crossing over with Ramadan, and so that alone shows the bounty that we have to celebrate here in this blessed land.
Maulana Atif Majid Suleimani told guests that the fast of Ramadan helped Muslims understand the plight of the less fortunate.
So while we are fasting, while we are keeping ourselves away from the food and the drinks, at the same time we are able to develop the feeling of the thirst and the hunger. And this gave us some understanding that how the people, those who have not enough meals, those who don't have even a clean water to drink, what are their feelings? So in the month of Ramadan, while we are fasting, this gives us some sort of compassion. This gives us some sort of understanding to feel about our brothers and sisters, those who are less fortunate.
Maulana Suleimani also announced a public Eid celebration at Skinner Park in San Fernando, inviting the national community to join. The Palm East Historical Society is calling on the Tourism Minister and the National Trust to urgently preserve South Trinidad's last standing sugar estate chimney. President Terence Honor says the 60-foot brick stack on the old Cedar Grove estate is at least 200 years old and is a vestige of the country's colonial industrial era. He says although surrounding area has been cleared, encroachment remains a major concern as residents have placed their fence lines closer to the structure, despite it being on state land. Honoree says they have been fighting since 2009 to save the historic site. They want it developed into a heritage attraction as there are still artifacts on the property, and he says the government must act now or risk losing one of the last remnants of South Trinidad's sugar belt.
We have further deterioration of the site. The roots get into the bricks and so on, and the bricks, although they last on the many years, they will succumb to this. And so we have seen some of the arches and the ovens and areas that are particular to the architecture broken down over the years from 2021 to now. We have seen that decline in the integrity of the place, and we really feel we need to have an intervention to protect this place and to restore it and keep it and protect it.
CNC3 News contacted the Tourism Minister for a comment, but he said he was in a meeting and would respond later. Still to come in sport, while the West Indies men prepare to face India for a spot in the World Cup semi-finals, Windies women saved by the rain in St. George's.
Dress like you mean business. At The Working Woman, we bring you stylish, professional looks made for the modern woman. From casual to formal workwear, we've got your professional wardrobe covered.
Folks, take a look at all these medical conditions. What does it have in common? This, ITIS. But what does ITIS really mean?
The suffix itis denotes inflammation of a specified organ or tissue.
ITIS really means inflammation. How do we combat chronic inflammation? Through lifestyle changes. Then, and only then, make sure you're getting enough omega-3 fatty acids.
Always consult a qualified medical professional before starting any supplements.
This season, Ask the Doctor is at a new time. It's your weekly prescription for trusted medical advice. In the Doctor's Capsule, Dr. Tilak Singh breaks down big health topics clearly and simply. Get a dose of smiles in the Kiddies Capsule as our youngest experts share health tips with heart. Explore the science behind the headlines in Medical Minds, featuring real doctors, real insight, and your questions matter. Join the open forum live and get answers straight from the source. Ask the Doctor, every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on CNC3.
Welcome back. It's time for some sport action. The servicemen were the big winners as round 17 of the Trinidad and Tobago Premier Football League began on Friday evening. In La Hakata, Police Service managed a shutout of Eagles FC, while Prison Service also claimed a 3-goal win over the hosts.
Third place Police FC in their traditional blue first kit met the black-clad Eagles, who began the match just above the bottom three, equal on points with 10th placed Caledonia AIA. The 3 points on offer at the La Hakata Recreation Ground then, important to both causes on either side of the table in Week 17. Eagles registered the first real chance on goal, Kareem Eastman following up on his repelled right side corner, but Raheem Lee was alive to the danger at his near post. Police captain Jabari Mitchell found Ronaldo Francois in a pocket on the opposite right wing, and he took it as an opportunity to try his luck. Mitchell continued to pull the strings as a cagey first half carried on toward a first 45 stalemate. His moment came after some nervous defending put the orb at his feet, the keeper unsighted in the melee. 1-0 Police, a slim advantage after 41 minutes and at the half. The Eagles dared to dream in the second half, but their best efforts weren't good enough to get them back on terms. The task became 1 goal harder in the 54th. Mitchell again involved, and Elijah Chocolate Belgrave at the far post to nod in his service. 2-0 Police. Mikael Gordon had a gem of a chance to make it 3 soon after, but was left to rue his final touch. Knackered against a relentless Police press, Eagles gave up possession in the worst possible area. Isaiah Hudson accepted the boon and made it 3-0 in the 89th as Police cruised to the win. 4th met 11th in the second match of the doubleheader as Prison Service in green and yellow sought to keep their top 5 status intact against the struggling La Hakata Rangers. Prisons had their lead in the 26th minute, locking down the LH area. First, Jeremiah Vidal saw his effort patted away. Then Daniel Hospitalis picked out the imposing Ricardo Zoggy John on the doorstep for the 1-0 advantage. At the other end, Ricardo Jashi's sublime piece of skill unlocked the Prison's defence, allowing Kevon Showtime Woodley a look in, and he doesn't need much more. 29th minute, and parity restored, 1-1 at the half. The match was all but decided in 2 second-half minutes. Wesley John ghosting in at the far post to restore the Turnkeys' lead in the 57th. Then Jeremiah Vidal standing his marker up before leaving the keeper a spectator at his near post for a 3-1 Prison's lead in the 59th. With 10 minutes to go, Kyron Williams put it further out of reach with a gallant header, 4-1 the final, as Prisons kept pace at the top of the table. Jovan Ravello, CNC3 Sport.
West Indies head coach Darren Sammy says past results will be of little importance when the West Indies meets India in the Super 8s of the ICC T20 World Cup on Sunday. Sammy noted that the match against the reigning champions, while a daunting task, is one that excites him and will help motivate his team to put their best out in the middle.
In order for you to win this tournament, you have to go through India at some point. Tomorrow is that day for us. And we got to play a good game of cricket in order to come out victorious. And I'm excited for the contest. As you could see, so many journalists here, you know the importance of the game. And I'm pretty sure they'll have, 80,000 here tomorrow, and then another 1.4 billion supporting India. So it will still feel as, a David and Goliath showdown. But like I said in 2016, David did defeat Goliath, so that's what I'm going to tell my boys tomorrow.
The West Indies surrendered its unbeaten record against South Africa in the last World Cup fixture, but Sammy says they've since moved on.
There's still positives we could have taken from the game. I mean, not often you see a team 83 for 7 and go on to score 170. I think we sent a stronger message about how deep our batting is. But yeah, we left that game in Ahmedabad, and our focus has been solely on what we have to do tomorrow against a strong Indian team, and that's where our focus is right now.
First ball in Eden Gardens is at 9:30 a.m. local time. The rain over the National Cricket Stadium in St. George's, Grenada saved the West Indies women from going down a game in its 3-match T20 international series against Sri Lanka earlier today. The start of the match was delayed due to inclement weather, but when it got going, the regional women's side looked a shadow of itself. Kiana Joseph, Shameen Campbell and Aaliyah Allen shared a top score of 7 runs as the Windies women were all out for just 49 in 13.3 overs. Kavisha Delari was particularly destructive, taking 3 for 5, while 3 other Sri Lanka bowlers took 2 apiece. Set 50 for victory, Sri Lanka was on 7 without loss before another shower came down. The match was eventually abandoned and declared a no result. The second T20 begins at 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. It's time now for a break. We'll be right back.
Folks, take a look at all these medical conditions. What does it have in common? This, ITIS. But what does ITIS really mean?
The suffix itis denotes inflammation of a specified organ or tissue.
ITIS really means inflammation. How do we combat chronic inflammation? Through lifestyle changes. Then, and only then, make sure you're getting enough omega-3 fatty acids.
Always consult a qualified medical professional before starting any supplements.
In the ever-changing media landscape, we at Guardian Media strive always to put you, our viewers and readers, first.
We strive to uphold the time-honored tenets of responsible journalism.
For us, accuracy is key.
And in our reporting, we strive not only to be first, but fair,
impartial,
and to uphold journalistic integrity.
Above all, we are accountable to you, and we must respect the views of our audience. That is our solemn contract with you.
Keen attention to detail.
Rigorous verification of facts.
Use of credible sources and sound editorial judgment.
Keep track of our editorial policies and guidelines, including our corrections policy, by logging on to www.guardian.co.tt for more.
Don't miss the gripping drama Cabo. Sundays at 8 p.m. only on CNC3.
Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister Gaston Brown is expressing deep concern over the escalating conflict in the Middle East. Brown condemned reported missile attacks by Iran targeting the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and other Gulf states, saying attacks on countries not directly involved in the conflict represent a serious breach of international law. He urges Iran's leadership to engage in good faith negotiations to address regional security concerns and called for immediate de-escalation by all sides. Brown reaffirmed Antigua and Barbuda's support for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nations and echoed the United Nations call for diplomacy over military confrontation. U.S. President Donald Trump is confirming that Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been killed as a result of Israeli and U.S. military strikes on Iran. The strikes sparked retaliatory missile and drone attacks across the region, including against Israeli territory and U.S. forces stationed in Gulf states. This raised fears of a wider conflict. World leaders are calling for restraint as diplomatic efforts intensify amid fears the crisis could spiral further. It's time for tomorrow's weather forecast. The Met Office says sunny, hazy, and breezy conditions are expected, apart from brief showers occurring mainly during the morning. Nighttime will be fair but hazy despite a few brisk showers. There's a mild to moderate concentration of Saharan dust present in the atmosphere. Tomorrow's maximum forecast temperature in Trinidad is 31 degrees, while Tobago will experience a high of 30 degrees Celsius. That's all for now for the weekend news. I'm Doris Polo. On behalf of the rest of the team, have a good night.
watching CNC3.